गोपाल गोविंद राम श्रीमद सुनाम गिरधारी गोपीनाथ मदन मोहन श्री चैतन्य नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत सीता हरे गुरु वैष्णव भगवत गीता तिरुपति सनातन भक्त रघुनाथ भक्त सदेवा लीला करिला प्रकार महाराज की सच्चिदानंद भक्ति विनोद ठाकुर की सिद्ध श्री जगन्नाथ दास बाजी महाराज की प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरी गोवर्धन की जय वृंदावन मथुरा धाम की जय नवद्वीप मायापुर धाम की जय गंगा माई यमुना माई की जय भक्ति देवी वृंदा देवी तुलसी महारानी की जय भुवन महान हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जय अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय जय श्री सनातन भट्ट रघुनाथ श्री जीव गोपाल भट्ट दास रघुनाथ सर्वसेन भगवान की जय श्री श्री अयोध्या धाम की जय राम सीता लक्ष्मण हनुमान की जय प्रहलाद नरसिंह भगवान की जय लीला पुरुषोत्तम धाम श्री जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की जय जगन्नाथ बलदेव सुभद्रा महारानी की जय इस्कॉन वर्तमान गोविंद की जय इस्कॉन लेस्टर की जय भगवान मोहन हरिनाम संकीर्तन महामहायज्ञ की जय शीला प्रभुपाद गुरु पूजा की जय श्री पंडित भगवान दर्शनावती की जय गुरु कृष्ण पूजा की जय ट्रांसेंडेंटल बुद्धिशान की जय समवेत गौर भक्त वृंद की जय निताय गौर मानंदे ओम हरे कृष्ण हरे कृष्ण ओम श्री श्री गौरांग ओम शीला प्रभुपाद जय By his grace and his process and the suffering of him, Lord Krishna.
only this is my consciousness purifying out the lost and the attachment to the lotus feet is a perfection that fulfills all desire. He opens my darkened eyes and fills my heart with transcendental knowledge. He is my Lord, perfect of God, from him ecstatic from madness, by him ignorance is destroyed. The Vedic scripture sin is distraction. Our spiritual master is the ocean of mercy, the friend of the poor, and the Lord master of the devotees. O master, we must without love. He was the shade of the lotus feet. May your praise spread over the 3 worlds, into the sight of the lotus feet. Jai Ho, Jai Ho. मैं सेटअप करता हूँ. Okay. Wait for a second. I'll come and check it out. Right? Oh, you lose how much? Just what? Shh. If you move your top, yeah, okay, here. Just need little water. मंगलाचरण बंद करो. ज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः. श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपः कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्. वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरोः श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च
श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगण रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवम् साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवम् श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च हे कृष्ण करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कान्त राधाकान्त नमोऽस्तुते तप्त काञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानु सुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः श्रीकृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानन्द श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृन्द हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे.
It was showing a special sign that the electricity is not being detected, so I thought it was. That one is not working, this one.
This is not working.
Okay.
ब्रज जन रंजन जय यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजन यमुना तीरवन चारे यमुना Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahans Parivrajakaacharya Varya Ashtottara Shata Shri Srimad His Divine Grace Abhaya Charana Ravinda Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Nitya Leela Pravishta Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivrajakaacharya Varya Ashtottara Shata Shri Srimad His Divine Grace Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Ho Grantharaj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Srimad Bhagavatam Morning Class Ki Jai Ho Yuga Dharma Shri Harinama Sankirtana Ki Jai Ho Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Ho Nitai Gaura Premanande Hari Hari Bol Hari Hari Bol Hari Hari Bol Hare Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Narayanam Namaskritya
Narayanam Namaskritya
Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam
Devim Saraswatim Vyasam
Tato Jayamudiraye Nashtaprayeshva Bhadreshu
Nashtaprayeshvabhadresu
Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya
Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya
Bhagavati Uttama Shloke
Bhagavati Uttama Shloke
Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki.
Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki.
So today we will recite from Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, third chapter, text number 20, text number 20th. The chapter is entitled as Krishna is the source of all incarnations. Please recite after the original recitation takes place. Avatare Shodashame
Avatare Shodashame
Avatare Shodashame
Avatare Shodashame
Pashyan Brahmadruho Nripan
Pashyan Brahmadruho Nripan
Pashyan Brahmadruho Nripan
Pashyan Brahmadruho Nripan
Trihi Sapta Kritvah Kupito
Trisaptakritva Kupito
त्रिः सप्तकृत्वः कृकुपितो
त्रिसप्तकृतुः कुपितो
निःक्षत्रामकरोन्महीं
निक्षत्रामकरोन्महीं
निःक्षत्रामकरोन्महीं
निक्षत्रामकरोन्महीं
अवतारे षोडशमे
अवतारे षोडशमे
पश्यन् ब्रह्मद्रुहो नृपान्
पश्यन् ब्रह्मद्रुहो नृपान्
त्रिः सप्तकृत्वः कुपितो
त्रिसप्तकृत्वः कृपितो
निःक्षत्रामकरोन्महीं
निक्षत्रामकरोन्महीं अवतारे षोडशमे
अवतारे षोडशमे
पश्यन् ब्रह्मद्रुहो नृपान्
पश्यन् ब्रह्मद्रुहो नृपान्
त्रिसप्तकृत्वः कुपितो
त्रिः सप्तकृत्वः कुपितो
निक्षत्रामकरोन्महीं
निक्षत्रामकरोन्महीं word for word meanings. Avatare,
Avatare,
in the incarnation of the Lord.
in the incarnation of the Lord.
Shodashame,
Sodasame,
Shodashame,
Sodasame,
the 16th.
the 16th,
Pashyan,
Pasyan,
seeing,
seeing,
Brahmadruhaha,
Bar Brahmadruha,
disobedient to the orders of the Brahmanas.
disobedient to the order of the Brahmana,
Nripan,
Nirpa,
the kingly order.
the kingly order,
Trihi Sapta,
Trisapta,
thrice 7 times.
thrice 7 times,
Kritavaha,
Krita,
had done.
had done,
Kupitaha,
Kupita,
being engaged.
being engaged,
Nihi,
Ni,
negation.
negation,
Kshatram,
Satram,
the administrative class.
administrative class,
Akarot,
Akarot,
did perform.
did perform,
Mahim,
Mahim,
the earth.
the earth.
Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. In the 16th incarnation of the Godhead, the Lord, as Bhrigupati, annihilated the administrative class, the Kshatriyas, 21 times, being angry with them because of their rebellion against the Brahmanas, the intelligent class. Purport. The Kshatriyas, or the administrative class of men, are expected to rule the planet by the direction of the intelligent class of men, who give direction to the rulers in terms of the standard shastras or the books of revealed knowledge. The rulers carry on the administration according to that direction. Whenever there is disobedience on the part of the Kshatriyas or the administrative class against the orders of the learned and intelligent Brahmanas, the administrators are removed by force from the posts and arrangement is made for better administration. Gurave Gaurachandraya Radhikayai Tadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tadbhaktaya Namo Namaha. Hare Krishna. At the very onset of present day's discourse, I would like to initially offer my most respectfully prostrated obeisances unto the lotus feet of their transcendental lordships Shri Shri Radha and Gokulanand Devji, along with their divine companions and associates such as Shri Lalita Devi, Shri Vishakha Devi, Shri Ruparati Manjari, etc. And along with them, I would also like to submit my most respectfully and reverentially prostrated submissive homages unto the lotus feet of their divine lordships Shri Shri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Shri Shri Nityananda Prabhu, along with all of the 5 features of the Panchatattva, accompanied by their eternal transcendental perpetual entourage consisting of Srila Rupa Goswami, Srila Sanatana Goswami and all the 6 Goswamis of Shri Dham Vrindavan. Finally, I would also like to pay my obeisances and due honorary respects unto the lotus feet of His Divine Grace Abhaya Charana Arvinda Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, who has been an adept in the matter of dispersing the transcendental science of Krishna consciousness, who has thus very artistically and skillfully distributed and has dispersed the pure devotional sentiments unto the lotus feet of Lord Shri Krishna throughout this world in this present modern era in most unique and fantastic unprecedented way. Conclusively, I would also like to pay my obeisances and due honorary respects unto the lotus feet of the initiating spiritual master, along with all the preceptoral spiritual masters, as well as all the senior Vaishnava devotees of the Lord present herein. And thereafter, now let us commence the deliberation and in-depth contemplation on the profound subject matter of Srimad Bhagavatam, especially the context concerning and pertaining to the 20th verse of the 3rd chapter of the 1st canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. So, as we have been passing through these transcendentally composed verses of Srimad Bhagavatam, and the enumeration and the listing of all the multifarious incarnations of Sri Krishna is being made currently, and this enumeration is being imparted by the lotus mouth of Sri Suta Goswami unto his empiric pedant and pupil Shaunak Rishi, who is the chancellor, and who is not only the chancellor but who is the representative of all the 88,000 rishis, the sages, and the munis who have assembled there at the sacred pilgrimage place of Naimisharanya for the performance of a Jnana Yajna Satra, for the performance of a sacrifice which is going to last for about 1000 years. Naimishe animsha kshetre rishayah shaunakadayah sahasram sutamasinam prapachuridamadaraat, as it has been described in the very 4th verse of the 1st chapter of the 1st canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, just succeeding the Nigamakalpatarur Galitam Phalam verse. It has been described that in that sacred place of Naimisharanya, Naimishe animisha kshetre, in that sacred place of Naimisharanya, which is actually very, very dear to that Supreme Lord, that sacred place, that field of Naimisharanya, that geographical land of Naimisharanya, Kshetra, is very much dear to that Supreme Personality of Godhead, Shri Narayan, who is rather known in the Vedas, in the Shrutis and Smritis as Animisha. Animisha means that Nimisha, or the eyebrows of that Personality of Godhead, they never fall down. That's why the Supreme Lord Vishnu is known as Animisha, and that land of Naimisharanya is very dear to that Animisha, Bhagavan Vishnu. That's why it is also known as, and the reason why it is known as Naimisharanya is because once upon a time when Lord Vishnu, he threw his Sudarshan Chakra onto this earthly platform, at that time to ascertain the centralmost part of this earth planet, Prithvi or Jambudvip, and the Bharatvarsh, which is inside the Jambudvip, to ascertain the centralmost region of that Jambudvip, the spikes, and the thorny spikes of that Sudarshan Chakra, they fell down and created at that place known as Naimisharanya. The Sudarshan Chakra fell down, and by the spikes of that Sudarshan Chakra was created a great pond. Therefore, the spikes of Sudarshan Chakra are rather known as Nemi. Nemi. And because because that land was marked by the Nemi of Sudarshan Chakra, by the spikes of Sudarshan Chakra, therefore it became renowned as Naimisharanya, or the forest jungle of the Sudarshan Chakra's Nemi. So these 88,000 sages who are assembled there, and their representative, their spokesman, Shaunak Rishi, who is the chancellor, who is the Kulpati of all those sages, he asked Suta Goswami in the very first chapter, according to Sri Sridhar Swami's Bhavartha Deepika commentary, which is considered the first and the foremost and the most authorized commentary that is actually the benign authority on Srimad Bhagavatam. So in Bhavartha Deepika, which literally means the illumination, the lamplight illumination of the esoteric meanings of Srimad Bhagavatam. Bhavartha means esoteric meanings, and Deepika means the lamplight illumination. So in that Bhavartha Deepika commentary, Sri Sridhar Swami Pad, he discloses that actually Suta Goswami has been asked upon by Shaunak Rishi 6 different questions. The 6 different questions in which there are hundreds and thousands of sub-inquiries. Hundreds and thousands of sub-inquiries pertaining to the topic of Shri Krishna have been included within the 6 main and direct inquiries. So within the 6 direct inquiries, hundreds of indirect and subtle inquiries and questions have been included. So within those 6 inquiries, there is one inquiry, and in order to answer that inquiry, this 3rd chapter of the 1st canto of Srimad Bhagavatam is revealed, and this 3rd chapter of the 1st canto of Srimad Bhagavatam is just answering that particular inquiry in the format of synopsis. That means in a gist format. In a summary form, that inquiry has been answered by this 3rd chapter of the 1st canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. But this same 3rd chapter of the 1st canto of Srimad Bhagavatam will rather be elaborated and will be expanded and will be extended up to the end of the 9th canto. So up to the end of 9th canto, and especially the 8th canto is fully saturated with the descriptions of major incarnations and pastime incarnations, Leela Avtaras of Shri Krishna. The major pastime incarnations, the major and principal Leela Avtaras of Shri Krishna have been described. Their divine exploits, their inconceivable, supramundane, non-phenomenal, transcendental deeds and pastimes have all been described in quite a bit of detail in the 8th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. But not only in the 8th canto, throughout all the 9 cantos, throughout all the first 9 cantos, the accounts of different incarnations of Krishna have been elaborated upon in Srimad Bhagavatam by Shukdev Goswami. And then in the 10th canto, one can also argue that the Shri Krishna's pastimes have been mentioned in the 10th canto. So 10th canto also comes as answer to this particular inquiry, but that is refuted because for the pastimes, in order to understand the pastimes of Shri Krishna, there has been put forth a separate inquiry by Shaunak Rishi and to Suta Goswami. So 10th canto doesn't come as an answer to this particular inquiry. As an answer to this particular inquiry, only the first 9 cantos are revealed. And those first 9 cantos are summarized within this 3rd chapter of the 1st canto of Srimad Bhagavatam in Sutra Rupa, in synopsis format. So now let us understand what inquiry was that which was presented, which was put forth by Shaunak Rishi and to Suta Goswami. Athakhyahi harer dhiman avatar katha shumaha Leela vidadhatah svairam Ishwarasyatma mayaya. This is the 18th verse of the 1st chapter of the 1st canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, one of the main 6 inquiries in order to answer which the Bhagavatam has been commenced. So Shaunak Rishi is telling Suta Goswami, Athakyahi, now therefore. Atha means now therefore, Akhyahi, please narrate unto us the various different narrations or akhyanas. And as Jiva Goswami explains in his Tattva Sandarbha, the very first among the Shat Sandarbhas or the 6 philosophical treatises that he has composed in order to elaborate upon Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's philosophy of Achintya Bheda Bhedavad, or the simultaneous and inconceivable difference and non-difference that the Supreme Absolute Truth has with his threefold types of energies, namely external, marginal and internal. So in that treatise, Tattva Sandarbha, and in commentary to that Tattva Sandarbha known as Sarva Samvadini, which is also written by the same author, that means Jiva Goswami, in both of the places Jiva Goswami describes that there is a difference between Akhyan and Upakhyan and Katha. All the three are generally considered narrations. The translation of all these three Sanskrit terms, Akhyan, Upakhyan and Katha, generally means narration, but there is a slight subtle difference existing between the three categories. So here, Sutta Goswami is being asked by Shaunak Rishi that please narrate unto us the Akhyan. That's why the noun Akhyana is rather made from verb Akhyahi. So here the verb Akhyahi is used, and that indicates the noun Akhyan. So please narrate unto us the Akhyan, or a specific type of narrations related to the different incarnations of Lord Hari. And those Akhyanas and Kathas, please narrate unto us Akhyanas and Kathas, two specific type of narrations. He's not talking about Upakhyan, he's only talking about Akhyan and Katha here. Two specific type of narrations in regards to the incarnations of Sri Krishna, and those incarnations and the narrations related to those incarnations are granting auspiciousness to the living entity. That's why we will again come across a verse in Srimad Bhagavatam, very famous verse, where it has been said that Shrotrin, Vaktrin, Pricharam, it is said that, yes, Prichakam, Shrotrin, Vaktrin, Punaticha. All the three. And then there is a similar verse found also in other parts of Srimad Bhagavatam, where it is said Proktaram, etc. So, but here it is said that Prichakam, Vaktrin, Shrotrin, Punaticha, that all the three, that the hearer of Srimad Bhagavatam, all the hearers who are forming the aggregate audience, all the listeners who are giving to the process of submissive oral reception to Srimad Bhagavatam, so all the listeners who are forming the audience, they are known as Shrotrin. The plural case has been used to indicate numerous quantity of listeners. So Shrotrin, Vaktrin. Vaktrin means the speaker or the narrator of these pastimes of the Lord. Vakta. Vakta and the Shrotas. And then Prichakam, the inquirer. So Sutta Goswami is Vakta, or he's the narrator, and Shaunak Rishi is the inquirer, questioner, and all the other 88,000 sages assembled there, they are the listeners. So all the three are purified. That is why here Kathaha Shubhaha, Athakhyahi Harer Dhiman Avatara Kathaha Shubhaha. O Sutta Goswami, please narrate unto us specific narrations of the pastimes of Krishna, which are granting auspiciousness. Leela Vidatataha Swairam Ishwarasyatma Mayaya. So in which way Krishna's narrations of Krishna's pastimes are granting auspiciousness? It has again been described and re-emphasized very emphatically by Narad Muni during his conversation to his disciple Vyasadeva in the 4th, 5th and 6th chapters of this very first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. There also Narad Muni again emphasizes and says that Tadavaga Visargo Janataga Viplavo Yasmin Pratishlokam Abadhavatyapi Namanyanantasya Yashankitaniyat Shrinavanti Gayanti Grananti Sadavaha. That Tadavag Visargo Janataga Viplavo Yasmin Pratishlokam Abadhavatyapi. Those poetic narrations which are completely suiting, which are completely following and are in accordance with the rules of grammars, with the rules of grammar, that is the Vyakaran Shastra. Those narrations which are completely in accordance with the rules of grammar or Vyakaran Shastra, with the rules of Alankar Shastra, ornaments of the language, which are following the rules of Chanda Shastra or the scripture of meters, and which is following the rule of Kosh, the dictionary, thesaurus, Nirukta, and all the different parts of the language. No matter how beautifully composed that poetry and that narration is, but if that narration, even though no matter how much beautifully composed it is, and no matter how much strict it is in following the rules of the Vyakaran Shastra, it still cannot be considered as a suitable place of sporting for the Paramhansas, who are like swans and who always want to swim in the crystal clear lakes of the narrations of the pastimes of Shri Krishna in his incarnations. So just like swans, they swim in Padmakhanda Sarovar. The swans are their tendency, their propensity is to swim in the lakes which are consisting of crystal clear waters and which are having sweet fragrant breezes due to their having the abundant number of lotus flowers within those waters. So the swans are very much prone to swim in those lakes which are fragrant by the lotus flowers and which have very transparent water inside them. But rather the crows, tadvag visargo janataga viplavo, the crows, the place of their pilgrimage, the place of crows pilgrimage, that means the place where the crows roam about and they naturally are prone to wander due to their internal inclination, is the most dirtiest place where all the rubbish garbage is kept and placed. So here it is said that no matter how much beautifully composed the narrations and the poetry is, but if that poetry and narration is not in regards to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, then that is just like the place of entertainment for the crows, Kakatirth. Whereas those narrations, no matter how much imperfectly they are composed, and no matter how much they are not following the rules of any grammar or any other Vyakaran Shastra or Alankar Shastra, but even if they are imperfectly composed and formed, but if they are in relation to the revelation of the glories of the omnipotent Godhead, Vishnur Viryani Shansanaha, then they are to be accepted as the entertainment place, as the wandering place for the Paramhansas who are like swans. So tadbhag visargo janatag viplavo yasmin pratishlokam abadhavatyapi namanyanantyani yashankitani yat shrinvanti gayanti grananti sadavaha. And so how are these narrations of Shri Krishna are considered auspicious here? Because Suta Goswami is being told by Shaunak Rishi that the narrations of these pastimes are very auspicious, shubhaha. So what type of auspiciousness is bestowed, is granted, is given, is donated by the listening process of the pastimes of Shri Krishna? So that answer is being given again in this very same first canto, second chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam. Shrinavatam svakatham Krishnaha punya shravana kirtanaha hridi antahasthohya bhadrani vidhunoti suhrit satam. That once the submissive and meek devotee gives and lends into the process of hearing these pastimes of Krishna, Shravanam, at that time when Shri Krishna sees that his devotee is engaged in listening to his own narrations, swakathaha Krishna kathaha va Shrinvatam swakatham Krishna punya shravana kirtanaha. At that time Shri Krishna personally enters into the heart of that devotee, not as an ad hoc or proxy agency of Kshirodakshai Vishnu, not as an ad hoc or proxy agency of Kshirodakshai Vishnu. In that form he is always present within all the living entities, whether they are devoted to him or whether they are averse to him, whether they are Krishna Vimukh or whether they are Krishna Amukh, it doesn't matter. But as super soul he is present in all the living beings, not only in human beings but also in other species of life like beasts, aquatics, etc. So what is the speciality of Krishna's entering into the heart of his devotee? That means our acharyas, especially like Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, they have described in their commentaries that Krishna is always present from long ago, from beforehand, within the heart of all the living entities, whether liberated or conditioned, whether devoted to him or averse to him, as a proxy agency of super soul, as Paramatma Kshirodakshai Vishnu, as an indwelling monitor or oversoul or super soul. But when it is said that Krishna personally enters into the heart of his devotee who is listening to his pastime narrations, at that time it is implied, it is denoted that Shri Krishna in his form as Swayam Rupa Swayam Bhagavan, that Shri Krishna of Vrindavan Dham, who is always performing the sportive pastimes and conjugal erotic dalliances with his cowherd milkmaids of Vrindavan, that Shri Krishna personally in his Swayam Bhagavan feature, not as Kshirodakshai Vishnu, but as Swayam Bhagavan feature, he enters into the heart of his devotee and then he personally removes all the unwanted items which are rather becoming manifest, which are rather seen as obstructions and impediments to the progressive path of devotional endeavor. So, therefore, it is said, Shrinatam Swakatham Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtanaha Hridi Antahastho Hi Abhadrani. He enters into the interior core of the hearts of his devotees. Hridi Antahastho. And what he does, he removes, he wipes out, and he literally washes out. Just like when the clothes are washed, when the garments are washed, all the dirt which is accumulated therein, in those garments, is completely removed. So, vidhunoti, the word vidhunoti is used in the sense of cleansing. So Krishna personally enters the heart and he cleans all the anarthas, vidhunoti suhrit satam, of his devotees, because he is the well-wisher of his devotees, his suhrit. Therefore, his promise in Bhagavad Gita, suhridam sarvabhutanam yatva mam shanti prachati bhoktaram yagyatapasam sarvalokam maheshwaram, at the end of the 5th chapter, he is well-wisher of all the living entities, therefore he does that. So that is auspiciousness which is granted by hearing to the pastimes of Shri Krishna. And therefore, Kapil Dev also re-emphasizes the same point in the 3rd canto of Srimad Bhagavatam by saying that Satam prasangan mama virya samvido bhavanti hritkarna rasayanaha kathaha tajjoshanadashvapavargavartmani shraddharatir bhaktiranukrameshyati. That when my pastimes are heard, when my pastime narrations are heard within the company of my devotees, then what benefit is accrued by the listener? What benefit that listener gathers or accumulates? So then Kapil Deva says that Satam prasangan mama virya samvido bhavanti hritkarana rasayanaha kathaha. From the lotus mouth and from the lips of my pure devotees, Shuddha Bhaktas, Uttam Mahabhagavatas, from the lips of my devotees, the river-like flow of my pastimes becomes expanded. And just like the flow of river comes out from the ocean or from the mountain the flow of river comes out. In the same way, the river-like flow of my narrations comes out from the lotus mouth of my devotees. And when that narration is heard by the listener, at that time that listener gradually obtains, as a result of hearing those pastimes, he gradually obtains first the Shraddha, the faith in me, and then Rati, that means Bhav Bhakti, and then Bhakti, which means Prema Bhakti. Shraddha Ratir Bhakti Anukrameshyati. So Shraddha means the seed or the root cause of Sadhan Bhakti, from which Sadhan Bhakti springs forth. Ado Shraddha tatha sadhu sango atha bhajana kriya tato anartha nivrittihi syat tato nishtha ruchis tatah tatha saktis tato bhavah tatah premabhyudanchati sadhakanam ayam premana pradurbhavi bhavit kramah. As Rupa Goswami explains the chronological sequential order of progress in Bhakti. So everything starts from Shraddha, then Sadhan Bhakti, and then as a result of Sadhan Bhakti, Bhav Bhakti is obtained, and when Bhav Bhakti becomes condensed, it turns into Prema Bhakti. So Shraddha means Shraddha, the roots of Sadhan Bhakti, and it also indicates Sadhan Bhakti. And Rati indicates Bhav Bhakti stage, and Bhakti indicates Prema Bhakti stage. Shraddha Ratir Bhakti Ranukrameshyati. So Kapil Dev says that those who listen to my pastimes within the circle of my pure devotees, they gradually from the very beginning of the devotional process, they reach up to the last perfected stage of devotional surrender, and they acquire the 5th goal of life, the Pancham Purusharth, known as Krishna Prem. So that is the auspiciousness which is bestowed by hearing the pastimes of Shri Krishna. Therefore, Suta Goswami is being told by Shaunak Rishi that all the narrations of Krishna's pastimes, they are very auspicious. So please, therefore, narrate those narrations unto us, because we also want to similarly receive the highest and most rare benediction and boon of Krishna Prem, or the unalloyed transcendental love for the lotus feet of the Lord. And because the narrations of his pastimes, they bestow this boon very easily, without any special endeavor. Therefore Brahmaji again says and emphasizes the same point in his prayers unto Shri Krishna in the 14th chapter of the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. At that time when Brahma apologizes his offense, of being arrogant and examining Shri Krishna's godhood. So at that time Brahma says to Krishna that Jnane prayasa mudapasya namanta eva jivanti sanmukharitam bhavadiya vartam sthane sthitah shrutigatam tanuvang manobhir ye prayasho ajita jitopyasitais trilokyam Jnane prayasa mudapasya namanta eva. Those who have forsaken, who have completely relinquished and abandoned, and who have completely discarded and rejected out and out, and in a very utter way, who have rejected the path of impersonal monism, or that path of impersonal monistic knowledge leading to the merging into impersonal aspect of the absolute truth known as Jnana Marg. So those who have rejected all endeavors for Jnana and for Nirvishesh Brahma Jnana and for the Brahma Sayujya Mukti. And those who have just taken to the path of devotional surrender by listening to the streamless flow of narrations of Krishna's pastimes, which are emanating incessantly without interception, interference, and any such type of obstruction from the mouth of his devotees. Those listeners of Harikatha in such an aforementioned way, even though they may be situated just in one place, sthane sthitaha, but if they are giving their body, mind and speech to hearing those pastimes and to serving the Lord in such a devotional way, then even though they may be situated in just one place, and even though they may not be performing any other harsh austerity or penance or any other special endeavor like the Jnanis do through the process of Jnana Marg in order to obtain the impersonal aspect, even though they may not do anything like that, even though they may only just focus on Shravanam and Kirtanam, they will still, your pure devotees will still conquer you, O Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna, although you are generally unconquerable. Therefore you are known as Ajit. You are not to be conquered by any great personality, including Brahma, Shiv, Indra and all these demigods, but you are still made conquerable. You are completely incomparable in all the three worlds, in all the Trilokis, Bhur-Bhuvaha and Swaha. But still you are made conquered by your pure devotees. Whereas that Jnani, that adherent to the path of impersonal monistic knowledge, he doesn't get any such position of conquering you. Rather, after undergoing harsh penances, he only gets meager fruit, very small and insignificant fruit of Brahma Sayujya Mukti, which is not the permanent resting place for the living entity. So that Krishna Prem is received very easily. As Brahma says, that Krishna Prem is received very easily just by listening to Krishna's narrations of his pastimes and incarnations. Therefore, in order to receive that boon of Krishna Prem, Suta Goswami is being requested by Shaunaka that please enumerate the different incarnations and their life character unto us. Shubhaha, the pastimes of Krishna are very much auspicious therefore. So now let us move forward. As an answer to this question, the first 9 cantos are revealed. And the 10th canto, one may think that is also an answer to this question, because 10th canto also reveals the life and character of Shri Krishna. So that is also answer to this question, but no, because Shri Krishna is not avatar, he is avatari. Therefore, the narration of Krishna's pastimes, which is being done in 10th canto, doesn't come as an answer to this inquiry, because this inquiry, in which Suta Goswami asks Shaunak to narrate the pastimes, these pastimes are only the pastimes of Krishna's incarnations that he is talking about, and not the pastimes of Swayam Bhagavan Shri Krishna. Therefore, Shaunak Rishi again speaks another verse, and that is Suta Janasi Bhadramte. Shaunak Rishi speaks again another verse. Suta Janasi Bhadramte Bhagavan Sattvatam Patihi Devakyam Vasudevasya Jato Yasya Chikirshaya. O Suta Goswami, may all auspiciousness be granted unto you, that may you live till the time that the Bhagavatam is completed. And till that time you should live. Therefore, we are all giving to you all our accumulated punyas, so that your lifespan doesn't cease while you're narrating Srimad Bhagavatam, even if your lifespan has to be ceased, it should happen only after you complete the narration of Srimad Bhagavatam unto us. So we are granting all our accumulated piety unto you. May all auspiciousness be granted unto you. Suta janasi bhadram te Bhagavan sattvatam patihi. Just tell us, Bruhi, just tell us that Supreme Personality of Godhead, Shri Krishna, the master of his devotees, Bhagavan sattvatam patihi, what he did when he descended via Vasudev into the womb of Mother Devaki, Devakyam Vasudevasya Jataha. When he descended and when he appeared via Vasudev through the womb of Devaki, what inconceivable and supernatural pastimes has he enacted, has he performed, has he displayed? Jatayasya Chikirshaya. That, as an answer to that inquiry, the 10th canto is revealed. But as an answer to this inquiry, the first 9 cantos and the 3rd chapter of the 1st canto is the summary answer of this inquiry. Athakyahi harir dhiman avatar katha shvaha leela vidatataha swairam ishwarasya atmabhayaya. So, now we know from Srimad Bhagavad Gita that all the incarnations of Shri Krishna have some specific purposes, and the most common purposes, all the different incarnations have specific and distinct purposes and ambitions to fulfill. But there are some common purposes and common ambitions which are fulfilled by all the incarnations of the Lord, generally speaking. And those purposes have been revealed very clearly by Shri Krishna in the 4th chapter of Srimad Bhagavad Gita. Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata abhyutthanam adharmasya tadatmanam srijamyaham. Krishna says, whenever and whenever there is marked a significant decline in religious practices. Yada yada hi dharmasya glanihi bhavati bharata. O descendant of Bharat, whenever there is noticed a significant decline in the performance of religious practices, and whenever and wherever there is also noticed significant, predominant and prominent rise and influence of growing irreligion. Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata abhyutthanam adharmasya tadatmanam srijamiham. In that particular time, in that particular situation and circumstance, and in that particular place, I myself incarnate. Millennium after millennium. Paritranaya sadhunam, in order to deliver my devotees. Paritranaya sadhunam, vinashaya chadushkritam, and in order to destroy and completely vanquish those demoniac personages who are rather forming the burden of Mother Earth. I myself incarnate. Dharma sansthapanarthaya, and also in order to re-establish the specific prescribed religious duty of that particular age. Dharma sansthapanarthaya sambhavami yuge yuge. I make myself manifest millennium after millennium. So this incarnation of Parshuram is also being manifest to fulfill the same purpose of re-establishing the specific religious duty and to destroy the miscreants and to again deliver the pious living beings and devotees and to make irreligion again go on decline. In order to fulfill these 4 purposes, this incarnation of Parshuram is also being displayed. So now let us go into little more depth about Parshurama's incarnation. It has been described in this very same 3rd chapter of the 1st canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. It will be described later on. Suta Goswami will speak one verse. Avatara hyasankhyeyaha harehe sattvanidher dvijaha yatha vidasiraha kulyaha sarasahasyahu sahasrashaha. Suta Goswami will tell Shaunak Rishi that there are thousands of incarnations sprouting forth from the original primeval Lord, the Samam Bonam, the Ashray Tattva, the source, the fountain source of all the other incarnations, Swayam Bhagavan Shri Krishna of Vrindavan. From him spring forth thousands of incarnations and expansions, which are practically impossible to be counted and reckoned. Therefore, they are known as unlimited and innumerable incarnations, asankhya. Avatara hi asankhyeyaha harehe sattvanidher dvijaha. That Hari, that Krishna of Vrindavan, who is the very embodiment of Vishuddha Sattva, transcendental goodness, O Brahmins, O Dvijas, O sages of Naimisharanya, from him are manifest thousands of incarnations. An example is given to understand this. How is this possible? Just like yatha vidasinaha kulyaha sarasahasyuhu sahasrashaha. Just like from a great reservoir of water, pond, a great lake, there are thousands of smaller streams and channels of water becoming manifest practically at every second. In the same way, from the great reservoir of all the incarnations, Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami, Sri Krishna of Vrindavan Dham, thousands of incarnations and expansions are becoming manifest. But now the question arises, if thousands of incarnations are being manifest, which are practically impossible to be counted, why only 22 are mentioned here? And why, by looking at all the different Puranas and Vedas, we will not find more than total 50 incarnations, because Rupa Goswami only mentions about 50 incarnations in his Raghu Bhagavatamritam, which is analytical book doing in-depth analysis on all different types of incarnations of Krishna. In that book, which is specially dedicated for analyzing the incarnations, Raghu Bhagavatamritam, Rupa Goswami doesn't mention more than 50 incarnations. So why Asankhya has been used, that Krishna has unlimited incarnations? Because the incarnations which are mentioned in Vedas and Puranas, those Vedas and Puranas are only meant for this particular universe or Brahmanda. Therefore, and also if we see that in Brahmalok, Satyalok of Brahmaji, there is present the elaborate form of Purana, which consists of 100 crore shlokas. And those 100 crore shlokas which are present in Brahmaji's planet are summarized by Krishna Dvaipayan Vyasdev and summarized into only 400,000 shlokas. So the Puranas and Vedas that we have here are only summary form. So in the original scripture, the most elaborate form of the Vedas and Puranas, which is present in Brahmaji's planet Satyaloka, in those Vedic scriptures, the names of all the innumerable incarnations have been given in 100 crore shlokas. Why? Because in every universe, different type of incarnations become manifest. It's not that in all the universes of this material world, only one type of incarnations become manifest. Just like Varaha becomes manifest in this particular universe. But in some other universe, some other incarnation of the Lord by some other name, assuming some other form, is becoming manifest. So we only have information about all the incarnations which are taking place in this particular universe, and therefore they have a limited number, otherwise they are unlimited. And all of their names are mentioned in the original Vedas and Puranas which are present in Brahmaji's Satyalok. This has been revealed by Jiva Goswami in his Bhagavad Sandarbha. So the incarnations of the Lord are unlimited, and only the principal incarnations which manifest in this particular universe and also in this particular kalpa. We don't have information about those incarnations which have become manifest in this universe in previous kalpas. Every day of Brahmaji is known as one kalpa. Brahmaji's lifespan is 100 years. Each year consists of 360 days. And each day within each year is known as one kalpa. So we only have information of how many incarnations are there in one kalpa of Brahma in this universe, not even in other kalpas of Brahma in this universe. So you can imagine how limited information we require for our deliverance. So now it has been described by Srila Rupa Goswami in Laghu Bhagavatamritam. At last we will come and focus on the purport here, but first let us make a background for that. So it is described by Rupa Goswami in Laghu Bhagavatamritam that what is the literal definition of the word avatar, and how are avatars different from the vilas forms. Because in Laghu Bhagavatamritam, Rupa Goswami divides two, actually, Vishnu Tattva expansions, which are known as Swanj. There are two types of expansions of Krishna, Swanj and Vibhinnansha. And therefore the Varaha Purana very clearly says, Vyasdev very clearly says in Varaha Purana, Swankshaschat Vibhinnansha Dvida Ishwara Ansha Uchyate, that there are two types of expansions of Krishna. Some are known as Swanj, some are Vibhinnansha. So Vibhinnansha are the separated expansions, who are none other than us, the living entities, products of marginal potency, Jiva Shakti. And the non-separated expansions of Krishna, who are none other than Krishna himself, they are known as Swansha, and they are all the Vishnu Tattva expansions like Ram, Narayan, Varaha, Matsya, Narsingha, Kurma, Parshuram, etc. So these Swanshas, they are again divided into two, Avatar and Vilas. So those forms of Krishna, those Swansha expansions of Krishna, who never come down to the material world, who always stay in the spiritual, are known as Vilasa Rupas. So the Vaikuntanath Narayan, who always stays in Vaikuntha of the spiritual world, Mahavaikuntha of the spiritual world, he never comes down in this material world. And he is different from the three types of Vishnus, three types of Purusha incarnations, Karanodakshai, Kshirodakshai and Garbhodakshai. Narayan, although Vishnus and Narayan have the same type of form, 4 hands and same Shankh, Chakra, Gada and Padma, conch, mace, lotus and disc, but still Narayan is different from the 3 Vishnus. So Narayan of Vaikuntha is considered Vilas because he never comes down into the material world. He never descends or incarnates. And so also Vasudeva, Sankarshana, Pradyumna and Aniruddha, forming the second quadruple expansion, they also never come down. So all these are known as Vilasa Rupas because they never come down. They always stay in the spiritual world. They are known as Vilas. And then Vilas is again divided twofold, Prabhav Vilas and Prabhav Prakash. Prabhav Prakash and Vaibhav Prakash. Yes, Prabhav Prakash and Vaibhav Prakash. They are again divided twofold, based on whether they are in Mathura Dwarka or whether they are in Vaikuntha. The in-depth explanation can be found in Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Leela also. So these are expansions who never come down. But avataras or incarnations are specific forms of Krishna who come down into the material world, who also stay in the spiritual world simultaneously within their personal chamber in Vaikuntha. Like in Vaikuntha, Narsingha has his own chamber known as Narsingalok, Varaha has his own chamber known as Varahalok, and that form of Varaha and Narsingha always stays there. But that Varaha and Narsingha expands himself into second duplicate form, replica, and comes down. So those forms of Krishna who come down into the material world, they are known as avatar. Because the noun avatar is a noun which means incarnation. The noun avatar is made from the verb avatarayati. Therefore Rupa Goswami says that avatar is literally defined as avatarayati iti avataraha. Incarnations, because they incarnate, they are known as incarnation. Incarnation is a noun and incarnate is a verb. Because they incarnate, they are known as incarnation. Because they come down, because they descend from the spiritual world downwards. Avatarayati iti avatara. That's why they are known as avataras. So that's the distinction between the Vaibhav Vilas, Prabhav Vilas and the avatar. There are 2 types of distinctions. Now, among the avatars, those who come down, there are again 6 divisions made. And therefore, in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Mahaprabhu, while describing his sermons, imparting his sermons to Rupa and Sanatan, he says, Avatarahaya Krishnera Shadvidha Prakara Purushavatara Eka Leelavatara Ara Gunavatara Ara Manavantaravatara Yugavatara Ara Shaktya Veshavatara. There are 6 types of incarnations of Krishna who become manifest onto this mortal realm. The first is known as Purushavatar. 6 types of avatars. Not the names of avatars, but 6 types of avatars. 6 categories of avatars. So first category is known as Purushavatar. Purushavatar means the Purusha incarnation. They are 3 in number, as Sattva Tantra and Narada Pancharatra, both of them they mention. And as this verse is again quoted by Rupa Goswami Laghu Bhagavatamrit, Vishnostu treni rupani purushakhyanyato viduhu ekam tu mahatah srishtrah dvitiyam tvanda sansthitam. There are 3 types of Vishnus, Karanodakshai, Garbhodakshai and Kshirodakshai. So they are known as the 3 Purusha incarnations. That is Purushavatar. They are known as Paramatma or Super Soul. Because Absolute Truth has 3 features. Impersonal Brahman, impersonal aspect, Nirvishesh Brahma. Localized portion, Paramatma, Super Soul, and full with 6 opulences, Bhagavan. Vadanti tattattva vidastattvam yajnanam advayam brahmeti paramatmeti bhagavaniti shabdyate. So impersonal Brahman aspect is not considered among any of the incarnations because impersonal Brahman never comes down. But the 3 types of Paramatma features, Karanodakshai, Garbhodakshai and Kshirodakshai, they come out from the spiritual world. They either stay in the marginal or in the material. Karanodakshai stays within the marginal world. That is causal ocean. That is Karana Samudra. That is also known as Viraja or the marginal world. And the other 2 Vishnus, Garbhodakshai and Kshirodakshai, they come into the material world. Karana Vaksha stays in the marginal, and the other two, they come in the material. None of them stay in the spiritual. Therefore, because they come down, they come outside the spiritual world, they are known as avatar. Purusha avatars are 3 in number. Now, after that comes Leela avatar. Leela avatars are the pastime incarnations. And just like Varahadev, Matsya, Narsingh, Kurma, Ramachandra, they are all Leela avatars. And then the Guna avatars. Guna avatars are again 3 in number: Brahma, Vishnu and Shiva. And the Vishnu who comes among the trinity of Brahma and Shiva, that Vishnu is none other than the Kshirodakshai Vishnu. So Kshirodakshai Vishnu is a redundant category, is a redundant form, because his name also appears within the Purusha avatar and his name also appears within the Guna avatar. Predominating deity of the 3 modes. Brahma is for the passion, Shiva is for the ignorance, and Vishnu, Kshirodakshai Vishnu, is for the mundane mode of goodness. He is the predominating deity of that. But he might be the predominating deity of mundane mode of goodness, but he is not influenced by the mundane mode of goodness. He rather always stays within Vishuddha Sattva, within the transcendental pure mode of goodness, which is completely unadulterated, which is completely beyond the Maya. Therefore, Shuddham Vishuddham Vasudeva Shabditam Yat Pumana Pavritam. Shiva says in Srimad Bhagavatam 4th canto that Vasudev position means the position of Vishuddha Sattva, transcendental Sattva, not the material mundane mixed Sattva. So, and Shankaracharya also has to accept this fact unwillingly. Narayana paro vyaktad andam avyakta sambhavam saptasyantastume loka saptadvipacham andasyantastume loka saptadvipacham medini. In the very first verse of Shankar Bhashya on Bhagavad Gita, he reveals this, that Narayan is beyond the 3 modes. So, therefore, Kshirodakshai Vishnu, who is among the Gunavataras, he is the predominating deity of Sattva Gun, mundane Sattva Gun, but he is not influenced by the mundane Sattva Gun. Gunavatar. Are Manavantara. And then there is a 4th type of category known as Manavantara. Actually, Purushavatas are 3 in number. Leela are 24 in number, as Rupa Goswami analyzes. Gunavataras are also 3 in number: Brahma, Vishnu and Shiva. Manvantara avatars are 14 in number, because there are 14 Manvantaras in one kalpa of Brahma. There are 14 Manvantara avatars who are considered presiding over each Manvantar. Yuga avatars are 4 in number, because of 4 yugas, Satya, Treta, Dwapara and Kali. There are 4 yuga avatars. Shukla avatar, white incarnation in Satya Yuga. Rakta avatar, red incarnation in Treta. Shyama avatar, bluish incarnation in Dwapar. And yellow, Pita avatar in Kali Yuga. Asan varanastrayo hyasya grihnato anuyugam tanuhu shuklo raktastatha pita idanim krishnatam gataha. As Bhagavatam 10th canto Gargacharya explains while doing the name ceremony of Krishna. So, Yuga avatar are 4 in number, and then Shaktiavesh avatar are the empowered incarnations. So, empowered incarnations are again divided twofold: Jiva Shaktiavesh and Bhagavat Shaktiavesh. Now, let us see the difference. When Krishna himself manifests, in a particular form, but that particular form, although actually Narayan, Krishna himself doesn't take any avatar, Narayan does. So when Narayan himself manifests, but that form is only displaying some of the potencies, not all. Just like Narayana is always possessing 6 opulences in full: all name, all fame, all renunciation, all knowledge, all beauty, etc. Aishwaryasya samagrasya viryasya yashasah shriyah jnana vairagya yoshchaiva sharnam bhagaitingana. Vishnu Puran, as Parashar Muni explains to Maitreya Muni, this famous verse describing the 6 opulences of Bhagavan. So, but not all the 6 opulences are manifest in full. They are there, but they are not manifest. If a particular form of Narayan, which does not display all the 6 opulences, just one of the 6 or 2 of the 6 or 3 of the 6, and those opulences which are manifest are not manifest wholly, totally, in full amount, but only partially, then those forms are known as empowered incarnation, but a specific type of empowered incarnation, Bhagavad Shaktiavesh. Parshuram is Bhagavad Shaktiavesh. Parshuram of this particular kalpa, is Bhagavad Shakti-avesh. Normally the Parshuram is not Bhagavad Shakti-avesh, he is Jiva Shakti-avesh. Therefore, because the Parshuram of this particular Kalpa is Bhagavad Shakti-avesh, therefore his name is mentioned by Jayadeva Goswami in the Dashavatara Stotra. Otherwise, what need was there to count Parshuram among Ramachandra and among Narsingadev? Ramachandra and Narsingadev, they are not living entities in any sense. They are Bhagavan Narayan themselves. They are not living entities, they are not Jivatma. Parshuram, normally he is Jiva Shakti-avesh. He is empowered living entity. But in this particular Kalpa, Parshuram is not empowered living entity. He is Bhagavad Shakti-avesh. He is Bhagavan himself becoming manifest, but only displaying some of the opulences, and that also not in full. That is Bhagavad Shakti-avesh. But when Narayana empowers some living entity who is a product of marginal potency with some of his transcendental energies, then that living entity is known as Jiva Shakti-avesh. So even Vyasadeva of this Kalpa is not Jiva Shakti-avesh. Normally the Vyasadeva is a Jiva Shakti-avesh. Normally. That's the flat rule. But in this particular Kalpa, the Vyasadeva is not Jiva Shakti-avesh. So also Parshuram is not Jiva Shakti-avesh. He is also Bhagavad Shakti-avesh. So two types of Shakti-avesh avatars. Parshuram is Bhagavad Shakti-avesh. Now, in a very old Tantra known as Chaturveda Shikha, it's a very old Tantra. And this statement from Chaturveda Shikha is quoted by our acharyas like Sanatana Goswami and Jiva Goswami in their commentaries to Bhagavatam. So in Chaturveda Shikha it is explained that Parshurama is also counted there also among the incarnations. Krishna is saying in that book known as Chaturveda Shikha, Vasudevah Sankarshanaha Pradyumno Aniruddho Aham Matsyah Kurmaha Varaha Nrasingho Vamano Ramaha Ramo Buddha Kalki Rahamiti. Ramaha Ramo. 2 times the Rama has been mentioned. So Krishna says that I am Vasudeva, I am Sankarshan, I am Pradyumna, and I am Aniruddha. I am also Matsya, Kurma, Varah, Narsingh, Vaman, Ram, Buddha and Kalki. 2 times Ram has been mentioned. So the first Rama refers to Lord Ramachandra, the second Rama refers to Parshuram. And there is also third Rama which is Lord Balram. All the 3 are generally known as Ramas. So there also Parshuram has been counted among one of the incarnations of Krishna. Krishna himself affirms this in Chaturveda Shikha. And also then Krishna says in Chaturveda Shikha, Naite te jayante naite sham agyana bandho na mukti sarva esha yete purnaha ajaraha amritaha paramaha paramananda iti. That all these incarnations of mine, they are not becoming manifest like conditioned living entities, they become manifest. Conditioned living entities, they become manifest by being forced by their karmas, their fruitive activities, good and bad. In order to enjoy the results of their good and bad activities, they are forced to take birth. But my incarnations are not forced because they are not subjugated by the laws of karma. That's why Krishna again says in Bhagavad Gita that janma karma chamay divyam evam yovitti tattvataha, that my activities and my birth is completely supramundane, not like the mortal living beings. Naitete jayante naitesham agyana bandhu. And Krishna says in Chaturveda Shikha that my incarnations, they are not covered by the layer of nescience or illusion, avidya. Shankaracharya says, rather contrary to this fact, because Mayavad philosophy, it counteracts itself at many times. Sometimes Mayavad says this, sometimes say that. Sometimes Shankaracharya says that Narayan is completely beyond the 3 modes, and sometimes again he says that Narayana is under the 3 modes. One example. In the Sharirak Mimamsa Bhashya, in the commentary that Shankaracharya has written on the Vedanta Sutra, Shankaracharya says, he mentions 2 types of theories. In order to understand how living entities are non-different from absolute truth, monism, Advaitavad, Shankaracharya propounds 2 types of theories, Pratibimbavad and Pratichedavad. Pratibimbavad means the theory of reflection of Brahman into Maya. And Pratichedavad means theory of division, that the Brahman becomes divided, absolute truth becomes divided. And both of these theories have been mentioned by Jiva Goswami in Tattva Sandarbh, and then he refutes them very nicely. So, Shankaracharya says, we will just take the Pratichedavad or the theory of division. Shankaracharya says that the most original form of absolute truth is not the personal form, is rather the impersonal form. So the impersonal effulgence, Brahma Jyoti, Nirakar Brahma, that's the most original form. And that most original form of absolute truth is completely beyond the three modes of material nature, he says. And when that absolute truth becomes influenced by illusory energy, Maya, Trigunatmika Maya, illusory energy which is possessing three modes, Sattva, Raja and Tam. When that illusory energy influences the impersonal Brahman, then impersonal Brahman undergoes a change. Impersonal Brahman undergoes a change after being influenced by illusory potency. And what happens is illusory potency acts like a sword, like a weapon, and it cuts impersonal absolute truth into many different small pieces. And all those small pieces of impersonal Brahman which are divided, which are cut by the sword-like edge of illusory potency, they become known as the living entities. And when again the covering of Maya is removed from those smaller portions of Parabrahma, then those smaller portions of Parabrahma, they again become merged into the remaining part of the Parabrahma which is untouched by Maya, and they become one with Absolute. So now here in Chaturveda Shikha, Krishna himself says that Naitesham Agyana Bandho na Muktihi. So now he says, Shankaracharya says that impersonal absolute truth. Now this is the theory of division. There is another theory propounded by him known as theory of reflection. So theory of reflection is when impersonal Brahman reflects on the mode of mundane goodness, then mode of mundane goodness gives rise to different forms of Ishwar like Ram, Krishna, Narsingh, Varah, Matsya, Kurma. All these personal forms of God, personal forms, Sakar, Roop, all these personal forms of God, they are produced from the mode of mundane goodness. When impersonal Brahman becomes reflected and becomes mixed with the mode of mundane goodness, then as a result of that interaction from the mode of mundane goodness, these personal forms of the God arise. Now they are produced. So according to Shankaracharya, all the personal forms of God, they are Maik, they are produced by Maya, by the Satogun, by the goodness, by the mode of goodness of Maya. And that's why his teachings are known as Mayavad, because he thinks that the personal form of God are products of Maya. Now, according to Shankaracharya, when impersonal Brahman becomes mixed with the mode of passion, then it turns into living entity, Jivatmas. And when impersonal Brahman becomes mixed with the mode of ignorance, then it turns into inert, dead, unconscious matter, like this table, for example. So this is how Shankaracharya says that anything except for impersonal Brahman is impure. Only the impersonal aspect is the purest aspect. On other hand, he contradicts himself by saying that Narayan is completely transcendent to the three modes. But you see, that's why all the contradictions are there. But we know that he was Shankara himself, and he himself knew what is the reality. That's why from time to time he revealed the reality between his writings, but then he again covered the reality by propounding Mayavad, because he was ordered by the Lord to do so. So the most important point that Krishna is making here in this statement of Chaturveda Shikha is that Naitesham Agyana Bandho. Agyana Bandh. Bandh means covering, bondage. Bondage of what? Bondage of Agyan, bondage of illusion. My incarnations never are bound within illusion. Naitesham Agyana Bandho. So when Shankaracharya says that Ram and Narsingh and all these personal forms of Krishna, they are produced from illusory potency Maya, mode of goodness, that is completely false, because Krishna says my avatars are never bound within illusory potency, and therefore because they are not bound within illusory potency, no question of their being liberated from illusory potency arises. The living entities like us, the products of marginal potency, because we are bound, we have to get liberated. There is a question of our liberation in front of us. But because the personal forms of Krishna in all his incarnations, because they are never bound within Maya, no question of their liberation arises. Na muktihi, no question of their liberation arises. Sarva esha hyete purnaha. All these incarnations of mine, Krishna says in Chaturveda Shikha, are complete. Purnaha, ajaraha, they are without old age. Amritaha, they are immortal, that means they are without beginning and without end. Paramaha, they are topmost, even higher than the impersonal aspect, they are topmost. Paramaha, Paramananda iti, and they are the condensed form of saturated transcendental bliss. Paramananda iti. So Brahma, while imparting his prayers, while offering his prayers to Sri Krishna in the 10th canto, 14th chapter, he also reaffirms the same fact by saying that, O Krishna, all of your incarnations, they are not products of Maya, they are transcendental to Maya. When he says this very famous verse, again quoted in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Narayanam tvam nahi sarvadehinam atmasya dhisha khilaloka sakshi Narayano anganarabhu jalayanat tachapi satyam na tavaiva Maya. Your various different incarnations and personal forms, na Maya, they are not products of Maya. So that we have refuted that, and therefore Krishna also says in Srimad Bhagavad Gita that Sambhavami Atma Maya. I rather become manifest through my internal potency, Yoga Maya, Atma Maya, not through my external potency, Mahamaya. No. So now it is said by Sutta Goswami, after that the enumeration of all these incarnations will get completed, Sutta Goswami will say one shloka. And why that shloka is being said by Sutta Goswami? Just for the sake of clarification. Because this is the 16th incarnation. After this, 2 verses after this verse, comes the 23rd verse. And in the 23rd verse, Sutta Goswami counts Krishna and Balram as the 19th and 20th incarnations. Among the 22 incarnations that he is listing, Krishna and Balram are counted as 19th and 20th. So Sutta Goswami will say, Ekonavingshe Vingshati me Vrishnishu Prapya Janmani Ramakrishna Viti Bhuvo Bhagavan Haradbharam. Ekonavingshe Vingshati me. As the 19th and 20th incarnations in the dynasty of Vrishnis or Yadus, Vrishnishu Prapya Janmani, Lord will become manifest as Ram and Krishna. Ramakrishna Viti Bhuvo Bhagavan Haradbharam, and he will remove the burden of earth. Now, here Krishna and Balram are taken as avatars, are incarnations. But the real position of Krishna and Balram is that they are not avatars, they are avatari. They are the source of all incarnations. Therefore, just in order to make this clarified, Sutta Goswami, that therefore in the first 3 chapters of the Adi Leela of Chaitanya Charitamrita, Krishna Das Kaviraj very graphically expresses. He says that Sutta Goswami paya bad bhoy. Sutta Goswami, he was very much afraid. After that he completed the enumeration of all these incarnations, he literally felt very much afraid within his heart. Why? Because he had counted Krishna and Balram as one of the other incarnations. He had made the position of Krishna and Balram equal to other incarnations. That's why he felt very much afraid within his heart. Therefore, in order to clarify, he again says one more statement, Ete chansh kalaha punsaha Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam Indrari Vyakulam Lokam Hridayanti Yuge Yuge. All these other incarnations which I have just mentioned, they are expansions of Narayan, Punsaha. But Sri Krishna is Swayam Bhagavan. He is even the origin of Narayan. That's why Brahma also says in that prayer to Krishna in the 14th chapter of the 10th canto of Bhagavatam, he says the verse that we just quoted now, Narayanam tvam nahi sarvadehinam. In that verse, Brahma very emphatically says, O Krishna, you are even the father of my father. My father is Vishnu, Narayan, and you are the father of Narayan even. So, Bhagavatam is very clear. Also in Brahma Samhita, Ramadi Murtishu Kala Niyamena Tishtannana Avataram Akarod Bhuvaneshu Kintu Krishna Swayam Samabhavat Paramaha Pumanyo Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. Krishna is Swayam Bhagavan. Kintu Krishna. Kintu means but. Kintu Krishna. But Krishna is Swayam Bhagavan. And he appears in various different expansions as Ram, etc. Ramadi Murtishu. But Krishna of Vrindavan is the original. And then also another example is given दीपार्चिरेव हि दशान्तरमभ्युपेत्य दीपायते विवृत हेतु समान धर्मा यस्तादृगेव हि च विष्णुतया विभाति गोविन्दमादि पुरुषं तमहं भजामि. That original candle and the other candles which are being lit through the agency of original candle. So in order to make this more clarified, Krishnadas Kaviraj writes that actually जार भगवत्ता हैते अन्येर भगवत्ता स्वयं भगवान शब्देर ताहा तै सत्ता. Krishnadas explains the real meaning of the word Swayam Bhagavan. Suta Goswami says Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. But what does Swayam Bhagavan actually mean? So Krishnadas says, and then Brahma Samhita also says Kintu Krishna Swayam Samabhavat. So what does Swayam Bhagavan mean? Swayam Bhagavan means that that particular form of God, whose godhood is not dependent upon the godhood of any other form, but rather the godhoods of all the other forms are dependent on the godhood of this particular form. Then this particular form is known as, because it is the shelter of, because this particular form of Krishna is the shelter of the godhood found within all the different incarnations and expansions. That's why this Krishna is known as Swayam Bhagavan, whose godhood gives shelter to other godhoods. That means the godhood found within all the other incarnations of Ram, Narayan, Narsingh, etc. are dependent upon the godhood of Krishna. Bhagavatta means godhood. So jar Bhagavatta haite anyera Bhagavatta Swayam Bhagavan Shabder Tahate Satta. And Brahma Samhita Diparchireva Dashantara Babhyupetya verse very clearly explains this, how this is possible, how the godhood of other incarnations is dependent upon the godhood of Krishna. And Diparchireva verse has been very nicely explained by Krishnadas Kaviraj in Chaitanya Charitamrita in Bengali, when he says Deepahaite Jaiche Bahu Deepera Jwalana Mula Eka Deepataha Kariye Ganana. Just like from one candle, from one original candle or ghee lamp running on clarified butter, just like from that one original ghee lamp, many other secondary, thousands and thousands of secondary ghee lamps are being lit and they are becoming effulgent. But the original ghee lamp stays the same. Mool ek deepataha kariye ganan. Without the original ghee lamp, other ghee lamps would not have been lit. Although the other ghee lamps and the original ghee lamp, they are having the same power, right? They are having the same type of light and heat. So Narayan, Ram and all these different incarnations, they are having the same potency as Krishna, but Krishna is the original. Taiche sab avatare Krishna se karan. In the same way, Krishna is the original cause of all the other avatars. Therefore, Brahma Samhita's 5th chapter, 1st shloka says, Ishwaraha Paramaha Krishna Satchidananda Vigraha Anadiradir Govinda Sarvakarana Karanam. Krishna is the original cause of all the other incarnations. But now, we have to understand one thing. Krishna himself, being Swayam Bhagavan, he doesn't interfere in the task of maintaining this material creation, or the task of destroying the demons, or the task of re-establishing the religion, or the task of making the irreligion go on decline. All these 4 tasks, Krishna doesn't directly perform. Who performs? Kshirodakshai Vishnu. Swayam Bhagavanera karma nahe bhara harana. That's why Krishnadas explains. Swayam Bhagavanera karma nahe bhara harana. Sthiti karta Vishnu karena jagat palana. It is not the duty of Swayam Bhagavan Krishna Vrindavan to remove the burden of earth, but rather that Vishnu who performs the task of maintenance, he does this act of paritranaya sadhunam and yadaidahi dharmasya. Kintu Krishna rajai hoyo avatar kal bharaharana kal tate hole vishal. But when Krishna is about to become manifest, when the Swayam Bhagavan of Vrindavan is about to become manifest on this mortal realm, at that time, as a matter of coincidence, the time of removing the earth of burden also becomes united. It coincides. Therefore, Kshirodakshai Vishnu, whose duty is to remove the burden of earth, he becomes merged into the form of Swayam Bhagavan Krishna, and then Krishna appears. And when Krishna kills demons, removes the burden of earth through many different activities, actually it is not Krishna of Vrindavan who is doing that. Actually, it's Kshirodakshai Vishnu who has become merged within Krishna, who is doing that through the body of Shri Krishna. So, Purna Bhagavan avatari jai kale ar sab avatar tati asi mile. When Purna Bhagavan, Swayam Bhagavan Krishna descends, all the various other expansions and incarnations, they become merged in him. Atayeva Vishnu takhan Krishnera sharire Vishnu dware Krishna kore asura sanghare. Therefore, that Vishnu, Kshirakshai Vishnu, Paramatma, the in charge of the maintenance of the material world, when he enters the body of Shri Krishna, he is the one who performs the task of destroying demons through the body of Shri Krishna. So Parshuram, who is Bhagavad Shakti Avesh Avatar, in this particular kalpa, he is an expansion of Kshirodakshai Vishnu. And because he is expansion of Kshirodakshai Vishnu, Parshuram has been assigned the task of killing the demons, especially Kartavirya Sahasra Arjun, Hai Vanshi, special dynasty of Kshatriyas. It's not that Parshuram has killed all the Kshatriyas. Jiva Goswami clarifies in his commentary to this verse of Bhagavatam that Parshuram has not killed all the Kshatriyas, only specific clan of Kshatriyas. Kshatriyas have mainly three clans: Suryavansh, Chandravansh and Agnivansh. The sun dynasty of Kshatriyas, Ramachandra appeared. The moon dynasty of Kshatriyas, Krishna appeared. And there is another third known as Agnivansh, the dynasty of Kshatriyas coming from fire god. So, and that Agnivansh is also known as Hai Vansh. And in that particular dynasty coming from the fire god, there appeared a great powerful king known as Kartavirya Sahasrarjun. And this Kartavirya Sahasrarjun had 1,000 arms. He was possessed of such a great bodily strength that one time Ravan tried to tease Kartavirya Sahasrarjun, and Kartavirya Sahasrarjun, he put Ravan, literally Dashanan Ravan, the 10-headed Ravan, in front of whom Indra and Brahma were becoming frightened. That Dashanan Ravan, Kartavirya Sahasrarjun put him within his armpit for 6 months without letting him move. And the place where Kartavirya Sahasrarjun was residing is known as Mahishmatipuri. That place name is also mentioned in Bhagavatam. Mahishmatipuri, that is on the banks of Narmada, river Narmada in the central India, Madhya Pradesh, central province of India. So that Kartavirya Sahasrarjun and his whole Agni Vansha, Hai Vansh, was destroyed by Parshuram 21 times. Each time, 7 times 3. Here 3 Saptakritva has been mentioned. 3 Saptakritva means 7 times 3. That means 21. Total of 21 times that was done. So we will also focus on that. So we now understand that Parshuram, it is because he is incarnation of Kshirodakshai Vishnu, it is his duty to kill the demons like Kartavirya Sahasrarjun. Now Kartavirya Sahasrarjun was not born in the Asur dynasty, like Ravana was born in the Asura family, demon family. Kartavirya was not born in a demon family. He was born as a human being, not as a Rakshasa like Ravana. He was born as a human being and he was a king of that particular part of India. But even though he was born as a human being, he was a demon by his activities and by his behavior. So now let us just focus on this part now of Parshuram. Just in next 10 minutes we will wind up our discussion. So Parshuram, it has been prayed by Jayadeva Goswami, Kshatriya Rudhira Maye Jagata Pagata Papam Snapayasi Payasi Shamita Bhavatapam Keshavadhrita Bhrigopati Rupa Jaya Jagadish Hare. That Parshuram who has made Mother Earth inundated with the blood of the Kshatriyas, especially in which place Parshuram he killed the Kshatriyas? In Kurukshetra, Samant Panchak. So that is the place. And Parshuram, there is a very interesting story how he appeared. It is mentioned in a very detailed way in Valmiki Ramayana, first division of Valmiki Ramayana known as Balyakand. In Valmiki Ramayana, very detailed account. I will just mention in 10 minutes how this happens. There was one king known as Maharaj Gadhi. Maharaj Gadhi. He was also known as Kushik or Gadhi. He happened to take birth in Suryavansh, in the Sun dynasty, same as Lord Ramachandra. But Sun dynasty has many divisions, like Mithila, Janak Maharaj, he is also in Sun dynasty, the father of Sita. Dashrath is also in Sun dynasty. So there was a third branch of Sun dynasty, and Gadhi was in that line. So Maharaj Gadhi, this is in Treta Yuga. Parshuram appears in Treta Yuga. So Maharaj Gadhi, also known as Maharaj Kushika, he had one wife, he had one daughter through that wife, and that daughter, the name of that daughter was Renuka, and the daughter was married to a Brahmin sage, Jamadagni. Jamadagni is the father of Parshuram. Now what happens is, because that king only had a daughter who was married to Jamadagni, and Jamadagni also didn't have any issue, any progeny, and the king only had one daughter, and king was very much afraid as to what will happen to his ancestral heirship, to his ancestral line, who will be the next successor. So king was very much keen after having a son in his old age. So Jamadagni, the son-in-law of Maharaj Gadhi, he said, don't worry, because I am a rishi and I have acquired some powers through tapasya, I will give one special porridge to my mother-in-law. She should eat that and she will have a child. And likewise, your daughter will also not remain barren. She will also have a child. I will give special porridge to my wife, who is your daughter, and she will also beget a child by that. Now what happens? Jamadagni gives special porridge to his mother-in-law and special porridge to his wife. But what happens, as is the nature with the women, this is the faulty nature of women. So what happens is, the wife of Gadhi, the mother-in-law of Jamadagni, she thought that he must have made better porridge for his wife. For my daughter, he must have made better porridge, and for me, not so good. So she deceived her own daughter, and she changed the porridge. She took the porridge which was intended for her daughter, and the porridge which was intended for her, she gave it to her daughter through the way of deceit. Now, what happens is, the two porridges were made sacred by recitation of two different types of mantras. Jamadagni made a special porridge for her mother-in-law, and the mantra that was chanted, the result of that mantra was that a Kshatriya child should born. And the porridge that was made for him, for his wife, the mantra that was chanted was intended to give child of Brahmin nature and Brahmin qualities. But now it was changed. So as a result, Vishwamitra was born from Maharaj Gadhi. That's why Vishwamitra's second name is Gadhi Sut, son of Maharaj Gadhi. And because Gadhi was known as Kushik, Vishwamitra is known as Kaushik, Kushik and Kaushik. So Vishwamitra, born as Kshatriya, but became a Brahmarshi. The famous story, how he was in competition with Vasishtha and was trying to become a Brahmarshi. I also want to become a Brahmarshi now. Who are you, Vasishtha? So he's the first example of a Kshatriya becoming into Brahmana, turning into Brahmana. So because of the porridge, it was like that. And now, as a result of that porridge, although he was born as a Brahmin, Parshuram was born as a Brahmin, he was more than a Kshatriya, always prone to fight with weapons. So that is how the story goes. And once upon a time, in the 9th canto of Bhagavatam, another story is mentioned that the wife of Jamadagni, the mother of Parshuram, she went to take bath in a pond, and she saw the Gandharvas of heaven, who are naked and who are performing various types of illicit or licit activities with their loved ones, the nymphs of heaven, Apsaras. So Renuka's mind became very much agitated, and she wanted to actually have an affair with the most prominent Gandharva of the whole group, who was very handsome. But she was afraid and ashamed of doing anything like that. So she controlled herself. But when she came back, Jamadagni read. Just by looking at the face, he read everything, and he went into trance. He understood that she has deviated from the vow of chastity, ordered Parshuram, kill her immediately, kill your mother immediately. Parshuram took up the, because of the Kshatriya nature, Parshuram took up the Parshu. Parshu is a special type of semi-oval shaped sword. He took up that semi-oval shaped, it's also known as X, and he chopped and beheaded and severed the head of his mother. Why? Because Parshuram knew that his father has the power to again make his mother alive. That's why he did it. And all the other brothers of Parshuram, they also, what do you say? They also opposed Jamadagni's decision, so they were also chopped out. Their heads were also chopped out by Parshuram, but they were again made alive upon Parshurama's request. Jamadagni made all of them alive. So that is another story. And then there is, in Brahma Vaivarta Puran, Ganesh Khand of Brahma Vaivarta Puran, there is another story being mentioned. Parshuram literally has a fight with Ganesh. You know the reason why Ganesha has one tusk chopped out? Because of Parshurama's axe. Parshuram wanted to enter Kailash because Parshuram, although he is Vishnu's incarnation, he was devotee of Shiva. So Parshuram was devotee of Shiva and he wanted to see Lord Shiva in Kailash. But Ganesha, he said, "Who are you?" And Parshuram became agitated with anger, immediate, instant anger. That is the nature of Kshatriya, instant anger. Brahmins will never become instantly angry. That's the special quality of Kshatriya. Instant anger and instant satisfaction. Kshanena rushtah, kshanena tushtah. That is a special quality of Kshatriya. So because of having this Kshatriya nature, he became instantly angry without thinking that Ganesh is the son of Lord Shiva, who is my worshipable Lord. So anyhow, then Parshuram chops the tusk of Ganesha. He chops half tusk. And so Ganesha has one half tusk and one full tusk, like that. That is also one story. And when Parshurama meets Lord Ramachandra, because Lord Ramachandra, he is Leela-avatar, whereas Parshuram is Bhagavad Shakti-avesh, inferior category than Ramachandra. Therefore, when Bhagavad Shakti-avesh confronts with the Leela-avatar, the supremacy of Leela-avatar is exposed. You know, when after the sacred bow of Lord Shiva is broken by Lord Ramachandra, Parshuram becomes agitated. Who has broken the bow of my worshipable Lord Shiva? And then Lord Ramachandra, he challenges Ramachandra to fight. And then after some time, Parshuram understands that he is Leela-avatar and I am just Bhagavad Shakti-avesh. So Lord Ramachandra becomes more influential than Parshuram. So there. And then Parshuram, as a result of that, because Lord Ramachandra, he threw the Brahmastra. So Parshuram said that there is no other choice. Now please burn all the planets, heavenly planets that I have accumulated by my power of penance. So Lord Ramachandra, he throws his arrow to all the planets which Parshuram had accumulated as a result of his austerity. And the land of Kerala in South India, the Malabar province, the Malayalam, where the Malayalam is being spoken, the land of Kerala, which is also the land of Adi Shankaracharya. So the land of Kerala is known as Parshuram Srishti, because Parshuram, that part of Kerala was not present before Parshuram became manifest. That is, so the land of Kerala is not it's not the part of earth originally. It's not originally the part of earth. What happens is Parshuram performs austerity, and as a result of austerity, he creates a separate portion of land. And that separate portion of land, he unites with Bharatvarsh, with India. And so that land of Kerala, which is rather created by the divine powers of Parshuram, that is known as Parshuram Srishti, or the creation of Parshuram. And Parshuram also had the good fortune of becoming the spiritual, not the spiritual master, but the martial arts teacher of Bhishma. He was the martial arts teacher of Bhishma. He was also martial arts teacher of Karna, Mahabharata story. He was also martial arts teacher of Dronacharya. So Parshurama, there are a lot of pastimes related to him. And as Srila Prabhupada says here in the purport, that the duty of the Brahmins, because Brahmins have become manifest from the head of Lord Brahma and also from the head of Lord Vishnu. There are two different creations. The first creation and the second creation, Sarga and the Visarga. So in Visarga, the Brahmins have become manifest from the head of Brahma, and Sarga, primary creation, Brahmins have become manifest from the head of Lord Karanavakshayi Mahavishnu. So, as it is mentioned in Bhagavatam, Mukhabahurupadebhyah purushasyaashramayhi sah chatvaro jagire varna gunair vipradayah prithak ya esham purusham sakshadatma prabhavam ishwaram na bhajanti avajananti sthanad bhrashtaha patantyadaha. It's mentioned in the 11th canto 5th chapter of Bhagavatam that from the mouth of Lord Brahma the Brahmins became manifest. That means the head portion where the intelligence and brain is located, and from the arms where the strength is there, the Kshatriyas, administrative class, from the waist and the thighs, the Vaishyas, the mercantile class, and then from the feet as a representative of service, the Shudras, the fourth class, the labor class men, they become manifest, along with the